Hey everybody, this is Raquel Fleskis. I'm coming to you for our third video blog series. Today, hopefully, we won't have as many issues with the camera as we did before. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys tonight. It's Sunday evening, right before the holidays. Hanukkah's tomorrow, we got Christmas in the following day. I hope you guys are all with your families or celebrating with loved ones for the season. First, I want to give you guys a brief update about our study, and then I really want to talk to you guys about the GenoChip 2.0, why we decided to use the platform for this analysis, and how the actual platform itself works, how the test works. So you may know I'm in the lab. So this is our lab at the University of Pennsylvania. This is the Laboratory of Molecular Anthropology. This is where my office is. This is where our lab analyses are conducted. So I'm hoping to bring you guys more videos from this lab so you guys can actually see, where we store the samples, what machines do we use to analyze your DNA. In more detail, we can probably do another video about that in another upcoming series. But very quickly, we have our lab benches right behind us, right behind my head. We have a sequencing machine, and we will do some of our analyses on these computers later on. So, brief update for where the study is. We are working on sending the last of the DNA samples in the mail, so through email. If you were part of the mail-in group and could not attend the DNA sampling event in June, and we had to send in your DNA sample over the mail, we have your results. We are just now going through the last of our sequencing results to double check your data. So what that means is basically when we send off our samples to GenoChip 2.0, they're going to run their own test, right? Now we want to make sure that this test is the most accurate, make sure that there are no mistakes. So what we do is we'll actually run our own analyses. So we checked the mitochondrial DNA. So this is a small plasmodial DNA that's stored in your mitochondria, and it is directly inherited from the mom, okay? So it reflects maternal ancestry. So this is a really great little DNA to sequence, really, because it's small. It's not a lot of bases, and we can do the analyses pretty quickly here. So basically what we did is extracted the mitochondrial DNA, did a little bit of sequencing on it, and just to make sure that our mitochondrial genetic results match with the GenoChips. So that way you guys have double authenticity when it comes to your samples. Now, your samples, your GenoChip results. So most of you guys have gotten them back, and you guys get a series of about 10-digit numbers, GPED IDs, we call them, Genographic Project ID, right? And you'll log in and use that number to access your results online, okay? Now, the reason why I really like to use the GenoChip 2.0 is that because it does have that nice online interface, number one. But number two, it's also, I think, probably the most academically and intellectually responsible of all the genetic ancestry tests that are currently on the market. Now, I know some other tests can do things, like say that you are 38% Irish or 28% French, or go really deep in. And for a large part, these claims are probably scientifically accurate, but we all know all humans are not genetically different from each other. We're 99.9% genetically similar to each other. That's hardly anything, 0.1%. We are not different races, right? So we're not different enough from each other to have different geographical affiliations of race. So sometimes when these tests and they give you these very specific ancestry percentages to certain countries or contemporary ethnicities, you want to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because not all country borders existed from here and 500 years ago, right? Not all contemporary populations in Ireland are the same, or not all Mende and Igbo peoples in Africa are also the same. So really, you want to take away from those tests that you do have maybe some Irish ancestry and some French ancestry, or maybe African ancestry as well, but to kind of go that fine ingrained, may want to take a little bit of a step back and kind of step away from those absolute percentages, which is why I really like the GenoChip, because it doesn't elaborate or go farther than the data will actually tell you. So when you get results that say you are 70% Western European, well, that's because populations in Europe have moved so much, right? Your genes and those people with your ancestry, they're flowing back and forth and moving, like a lot of other places on the planet too, right? Populations are not stagnant. So especially with Europe, because there is so much movement over a relatively small geographical space, right? That means we don't have a lot of what we call genetic differentiation, okay? So that basically means that when people and populations move, right? We came out of Africa, a population came out of Africa, some moved down into Southeast Asia, right? They stayed for a while, they accumulate mutations in genetic diversity. Another population goes in to Europe, they stay for a while, accumulate mutations in genetic diversity, right? And those populations will move around, right? So these kind of accumulations of genetic diversity and mutations allow us to tell populations apart. But in Europe specifically, there's just been a lot of movement, so it makes it a little bit more difficult to be able to tell that fine level apart. We'll be able to tell apart European, African, continental for the most part pretty easily, but very interspecific populations can be a little bit more difficult to do. So the genochip offers probably one of the largest numbers of markers it looks at, and it also doesn't make over assumptions about where those ancestries of persons in your ancestry come from, right? So unfortunately, we all know that the genochip is closing, right? So National Geographic has decided to focus more on ancient DNA and focus its efforts into other things. So it is pulling the genochip 2.0 from the market. Now what that means for you guys is that you guys will have up until June to access your results online and then print them. You can transfer them also to Family Tree DNA, but we looked into it and it turns out that they will not transfer your autosomal ancestry percentages for free. You will have to pay an additional $30 for that, which is a little bit of a disappointment to me. I had a lot of conversations with people at National Geographic about that, but they said because that they are closing, that's just the situation. So my apologies about this. But what you should do, and you can do for free, is print out your results. Okay, so there'll be a little section once you log onto the page. It'll say print your results. It'll generate a PDF, and you can print that. Now, if you're having issues with a kind of a yellow loading button that goes over your PDF and kind of grays out the text behind it, what you should do is try to use a different browser. Okay, so we were running into issues with this with a couple of other people, and it turns out it probably is a Chrome issue or an incompatibility with the actual internet browser and the website for the genochip. So try another browser, try Safari, try Firefox, maybe Internet Explorer, and see if that works. But definitely do print your results out. I'm going to be sending a separate email about this just to really make sure that everybody will have access to the results before the genochip officially closes. Another small update that I have with you guys too is that we are going to be coming down to St. Mary's. Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to be coming down. The date is still to be determined, but we are planning an event. I think it's going to be at the last week of February, first weekend of March. So you guys are definitely all invited, and we're going to give you guys a bit of a study update. If you're watching these videos, you kind of already have a little bit of a head start. But now that we've concluded the first phase of data analysis and actually obtaining and getting all of your data completed, now we can actually move into the fun stuff, which is kind of analyzing data as a group with you guys and figuring out what is the story of 17th century Chesapeake, of European and African descended populations in this area. How have populations changed? How did kinship impact migration here? These are all things we want to look at. So now that we mostly have all the data, we can start looking at that. So I'm really excited. So I think that'll be it for tonight. So if you guys have any questions, again, feel free, drop a comment below. I would love to answer them. In response to James, I think you had a comment on our last video. Yes, for sure, we can definitely try to videotape our next event so people who are not able to access in person can see it online. So have a great holiday. Looking forward to talking to you guys in another 2 weeks. Enjoy any travels and travel safe if you guys are traveling. Thanks.